Are you a lover of self? Do you enjoy taking care of yourself because you deserve it? Do you feel like the next generation is just there to help pay your dues? Are you a member of Congress? Then all of this applies. Find out more on the Self-Evident Podcast. Welcome.
The Mexican Malcolm X.
Mexican X?
Mexican Mex-X?
Mex-X?
Mex-X? No.
Mexicano?
It's Malcolm X to you.
Malcolm Cotto X?
Yeah.
Melcorado?
Sweet.
We're
Well,
gonna figure
anyways,
this out.
welcome to Self-Evident Podcast. You got Massey, you got Mike, you got the boys, you got all that
You got
stuff.
all of us.
And if you have not yet done this, since I got warned the last one, I'm yelling all the time. What are we telling them to do, Isaiah?
Subscribe and give your money.
There's a good way to pitch it.
Yeah, and on
money.
that, subscribe
broke.
first, please. Hit the notification button on either platform, whatever you're on right now, and get our updates. Also, share this with a friend because
Yes.
you're awesome. Also, what's the text to give option, boys? Come on, Nathan. This is where you got to get ready. Come on.
Best announcer voice.
Second down and 9.
Okay, so you're going to text the word give to 772-242-0299. That is the word give to 772-242-0299. Text word give.
All right. There we go.
And all that. So, guys, you got to get on the thing. Be a torchbearer.
Do the stuff.
Or, hey,
yeah.
some moich.
Shirts.
Get the shirts up. What do they look
Shirts.
like?
I did that last time. Don't you worry.
All right, so you see the shirts. Those are the new ones that came out, and they sold fast, bro. Like
Yeah,
they were
they did.
quick. By the first tour
Everybody
that we
loves
had them, they were out.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for buying all those, and they're for also you can order them online. We will send them out to you. We got our hats and everything like that. You guys can be a part of buying all the gratuitous merch. Also, we got some new designs coming out. A lot of people love the socialism shirt. I did a play on capitalism. It's going to kind of look like the Carhartt logo. It's funny. So, and then it's got a cool quote in the back, but it's going to be great. So, guys, again, thank you for tuning in. We got a lot going on. Last week was a hot
Yeah, that one,
podcast. That was
one
fun.
Bumped. People enjoyed it.
People
Or
enjoyed it
didn't enjoy
and
it.
didn't enjoy it. We also got a lot of comments, and guys, keep commenting. If you love what we're doing, just give us a thumbs up and respond, please. We love comments. Comments actually help us engage more on these topics. So, like, if you want more topics like this, if you got questions that you want answered from us, whether governmentally, scripturally, whatever, we're going to do that for you. So, yeah.
And to your point, we had a couple people in the comments asking about prophets and asking about how do you discern prophets? Should you
That was
judge
good.
discern prophets? So we're going to do it on Monday. So keep your eyes open. We love doing that. We love if somebody
We
brings
love
up
breaking
like,
it
what
up.
about this?
Yeah.
We'll do a
And
podcast on it.
Yeah, so Mikey and I are also doing more on history, so we're going to do one here probably next Friday on did the government have the authority to create a central bank? And people say, no, they didn't, but they couldn't cite why or where or how. So
Right.
we're going to give you those tools and what we can do moving forward to stand up against this stuff. Because, look, America's not the same America, which plays into this. What we're talking about today is like, back in the day, our founders talked a lot about posterity. As a matter of fact, it was written in the Constitution, the preamble, we the people, you know, it's that whole statement, that whole phrase, even at the end of it says to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Micah and I have been talking about this, like to secure the blessings of liberty. And I think it's in Georgia. I should have looked it up, but I think it's in Georgia. They just passed a law. You ever see those trucks, guys? They got the 20-inch rims, 22s, maybe 24s. The back of it is sunk, but the front of it is lifted. It looks ridiculous. I mean, listen, if you do that, I love you, but that looks ridiculous. That's not what the truck's made for. It looks dumb, okay? And I think they're doing it to just thumb everything. Like,
Yeah, it's almost where the dumb and the ugly becomes popular because
Right,
it's
right.
against the beautiful and the good looking.
Right. So I don't like it. I think it looks ridiculous.
I'm with you.
However, would I pass a law against it? No, it's the liberty of that person who bought that truck that wanted to make it look retarded. I don't care.
Right.
Like, let them do what they do. That's just how this works. They can do what they want. And what I fear we've done, like Senate, like Congress, they don't care about our future. They care about burdening our future. They care about the now and what's happening now. And you know what's so funny? What they think about the now is all for political gain. Billions to Ukraine and, this whole Palestine-Israeli conflict and all these other things that are going on are guys, anything, and Mike and I were talking about this earlier too, anything that can be regulated has been taxed and inflated to no end. Just think about it. The housing market, medications, the medical industry, insurance, all the things that we think we have liberty to purchase, once regulated by government, just skyrocket, right? Look at our gas, bro. Like, it's crazy. Just went to a restaurant yesterday. Just me and my 5 people, my 5 little young'uns. We went to a little hibachi place. I love the little hibachi place because of taxes and inflation and everything. It was like $100, $100 just to go get some hibachi for them. And I think I had some chicken. You know what I mean? Because I just can't eat the crap. So it's like chicken, which hibachi, I miss and love you. The yum yum sauce, I can't have it, but like, oh gosh. Anyways, everything is skyrocketing right now, dude. You can't get milk, butter, $7.
It nailed me yesterday because I went and did the grocery shopping for Melissa, and I got back and I'm like, we're changing things because it was like $250. I think she was a little bit offended because she's like, yeah, I've been going through this, for how long? And it's like, yeah, I'm with you, but we can't keep spending $250 when I go to Aldi's. It's like, what? You think back to when you were a kid and that cart full, it was like, if it hit 100, man, you had a lot of food.
And we were like, wow, mom and dad are rich.
Spend $100 on
Look
food.
how much food we got.
Now it's like, I'll go and get 5 things and it's $50. And it's,
Dude, shampoo's crazy, bro. It's like 10. Because this is the reason why I talk shampoo and all these other, because I just bought them, right? So I had to change from butter to ghee butter. That's what I started doing. Yeah. That's $8, $7, right? Like, this is crazy, right? Like, just everything is nuts. Everything regulated by government. So my point is this: what are we leaving? That's liberty to the next generation.
Right.
Our founders thought differently. Our founders thought about we need to sacrifice now so that our future children can have a better future, a better life, I should say, not a better future. Our future children can have a better future. It was a stupid way to say it, but a better life, something that they can be enjoying, right? Something that they knew government would stay out of, and then they can go enjoy, have land, prosper at peace. I get all these people who are at college campuses. These founders were slave owners. The founders were oppressive. So crazy you could say that in a country that gives you the freedom to do it. You know what I mean? It's so ridiculous.
As you film yourself on your iPhone, standing, getting your $50,000 degree at one of the cheaper universities,
because it's regulated, because it's subsidized.
After you were driving in your Toyota Prius all over the nation, and like the absolute lack of gratitude is such a selfish nature. And I actually put at the top of the notes, 2 Timothy 3:1-4. But realize this, that in the last days, difficult times will come. For men will be lovers of self. I think that's first for a reason.
Come on.
Listen to what lover of self can produce in you. Lover of money, boastful, arrogant, reviler, disobedient to parents, ungrateful, unholy, unloving, irreconcilable, malicious gossips, without self-control, brutal, haters of good, treacherous, reckless, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. We are in a generation, we're in a culture, Western culture.
It is culture now. It's not just generation. It's the culture that we've created.
The culture is a selfish culture. And I was having this conversation with a friend a couple of days ago, and that it's so crazy because the Lord has been hitting me with this over the head. I had somebody who submitted a blog to me. In the middle of their blog, they were talking about generation and how this culture is selfish and how we should be selfless culture. It's like, I'm getting nailed with it everywhere. It's like, okay, there's something to it. And I've got this concept of a legacy gene, especially within men, right? Totally. We want to set a legacy, something bigger than ourselves. The problem is now we're a selfish culture, so that legacy is self. It's my own name. It's my own production. It's what I want. the let's put it this way. There is now a viral culture of people who get married and purposely don't have kids so they can just live out their life.
100.
That's indicative of really where we're at in this process, right? And my friend and I were talking about, especially if you look at the Jews, right? And
Wait. Are you anti-Semitic?
yes, definitely,
Mhm.
because I'm using the Jews,
I'm just saying.
right?
They're a bunch
It's
of
crazy.
Mexicans.
This just in: the Jews are Mexican.
Oh,
Joseph
kinda.
Smith was wrong. They're not Indians. The black Hebrew Israelites were wrong.
Kinda.
They're not black. They're Mexican.
Yeah, they're hard workers. Just Jews are more shrewd.
Right.
I mean, they keep
Well,
their money, but that's
and that's what we were talking about, right? So Jewish culture is very ancestor focused. Who were your fathers?
100%.
What's your lineage, right?
100%.
And that actually produces in them looking forward
And
too.
honor.
And honor, right? Asian cultures are the same way. Now, if you notice, Jewish people tend to prosper. And if you think about it, it makes sense. When they come to an area, they build their community.
100%.
So if I own a shop, everybody else who's in my community, they come to my shop.
Because we come to their shop.
Exactly.
So it's a give and take. Actually,
Yes.
Edmund Burke said this. He said, people will not look forward to their posterity who never look backward to their ancestors. He's very right. So it's aligning with what you're
Exactly.
saying. They're looking forward because they've seen backward what was done for them.
Right.
It's called gratefulness. We started to hate our nation starting
Go with
maybe
that.
maybe
Go with
100
it.
years ago, started to hate our institutions, started to kind of go against the American value and virtue. And as a matter of fact, Thomas Paine actually said, when we are planning for posterity, we ought to remember that virtue is not hereditary. He's right. So virtue is not something we pass down in our lineage through blood. We pass it down through teaching. We pass it down through culture. We pass it down through honor. So when we started to lose the pith of what America really stands for, the bastion of liberty, the fact that God had favor on our lives, and it's what bothers me so much about what's going on today is it's not people say it's this generation's ungrateful. No. It's a culture that we've created.
Yes.
Because many generations
Yes.
are
It did not
selfish.
start with the boomers, guys.
No, it didn't.
Stop with this whole the boomers
Yeah.
are the most horrible generation. It's cultural.
It is
with
literally
us.
culture. We're taught now that abortion is okay. No.
Yeah.
God is turning the tide. This is what I'm saying. It's not generational. I think it's a cultural thing. It's not generational because I think the latest statistics were we're living in the most pro-life generation in history.
Right.
With 75% of kids. There's right now colleges that are having revivals. We just posted that on Self-Evidence page on the Instagram and I think on Facebook that hundreds have been saved in just a recent revival. There's things happening in Europe right now. I was telling Pastor Jan the other night, there's thousands that are going out there doing worship sets, praise and worship.
yeah.
Religion is not dead. Christ is not dead.
Christianity will not die.
I'm getting a witness right now. Christ is not dead and he cannot die. That's what's so cool about the Lord. You can try to quelch him, squash him, remove his books, remove his teachings, tell people that he's false, but yet there will still be a remnant that worships him. And in Isaiah 65, he said, I was found of those who didn't even seek me. So he's revealing himself to those people who haven't even sought him. They're the ones that are like, I don't know, man. I was just in my car one day and bam, the Lord just revealed himself to me, man. I started praying about it. I just watched an interview with this dude. This is posterity stuff. Watched an interview with a dude who's a former gang member, dreads the whole nine, tattoos everywhere, right? He said, I had an encounter with the Holy Spirit in jail. I started singing worship. He's like, and I was just singing my own thing. Like you could, the words he was singing, I just love you, Jesus. I love you, Holy Spirit. I need your love in my heart. And he said, man, I had so much hatred for people. He goes, and there was like this wave where I just wept.
Wow.
And the wave hit me, the wave of the Holy Spirit took all this, and I just had this joy, bro. I couldn't explain it. The way he said it was so genuine, bro. Genuine as all get out. And you're seeing that happen. Well, what's going to happen with his children? He's going to teach them the lineages of his God. This was never taught to me, maybe. You know, I don't know his story, but like this was never in my life emulated. I'm going to emulate it for you.
Exactly.
So their posterity, and our founders actually taught this, that our posterity matters. So what we do now affects their future. How we set them up is how they're going to be. The problem is our founders also knew morality had to be in a republic. in order for the republic to succeed.
Right. And I want to read Psalm 78 because this will get to the bottom of it, right? Listen, O my people, to my instruction. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. So already he's saying, listen to me, listen to my instruction. Do what I'm about to tell you. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old, which we have heard and known, and our fathers have told us. We will not conceal them from their children, but tell to the generation to come the praises of the Lord. Did you notice? This is a pass on to your posterity.
Yep.
And his strength and his wondrous works that he has done. Testimony. For he established a testimony in Jacob and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers that they should teach them to their children, that the generation to come might know, even the children yet to be born, that they may arise and tell them to their children, that they should put their confidence in God and not forget the works of God, but keep his commandments and not be like their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation that did not prepare its heart and whose spirit was not faithful to God.
Dude. Wow.
Now, you may say, yeah, but that's old. And God said he would write his law in our hearts. And so now we don't. You're missing it. You're missing it. Testimony. Are you pouring into your children? Are you passing on to the next generation? If your response is, well, God will do it for me, man, your heart's in very much the wrong position.
It's actually a foolish premise. I'll tell you why. Leave a child undisciplined once.
right.
See what happens. Why is foolishness, according to Proverbs, foolishness is bound in the heart of a child. Therefore, the rod of correction will drive it far from him. Why does Proverbs say that? When did that law change?
Right.
Yes, it's written in our hearts. They know what they do right and wrong. Nobody had to tell me it was wrong to lie. The moment I did it, though, all of a sudden I'm like trying to conceal and hide, and I felt really bad about it. I don't remember the first time I did because I used to lie all the time, but it was crazy. And I learned how to lie in a honest way. It's weird. Like I made it to where it sounded honest.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it was so deceptive. So to lie was not something my parents had to say, don't do that. You know, when they busted me, they were like, why are you lying? You know that's wrong to lie. They didn't even have to tell me. I was like, yeah, I know it's wrong to lie.
Yeah.
Dude, I'll never forget the one time my mom slapped me across the face. I was 14 years old. And I lied right to her face, and I said, don't you dare touch me. Whap. She let me have it, dude. And it was great. That's just, I needed that, man.
Yeah.
I needed that kind of discipline. But what happens is they say the law is written on our hearts, the New Testament stuff. It's like, okay, if it's written on your heart, it is on your child. But if they're like, read Romans 7, right? When the law came, sin revived, I died.
Yes.
So the law came so that sin would become more exceedingly sinful, Paul said, so that I could understand the depth of sin. When the law comes at you, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm really in sin right now. How do we know that? Jesus said, you've heard in old times, thou shalt not commit adultery. But he said, even if you look at a man or a woman to lust, you commit adultery. Why was he teaching people that commandment?
Thank you.
Why? Because he knew it went farther than the law. It actually went to the intent of the heart. Even King David said God would try the imagination of his thoughts, where the thoughts originated. And it was actually the book of James that talks about that your lust has conceived. When lust conceives, it's because of the thoughts you had, where you put your mind at. When lust conceives, it brings forth sin. Sin, when it's finished, brings forth death. Why are they talking about that in the book of James? Because we've not taught our children what sin is and what righteousness is. What is right, what is wrong. It is written on their heart. That's called a conscience. Now we need to teach them how to walk in the ways of God and instruction.
Exactly. And when you become a selfish culture, what ends up happening is you don't focus on that. You don't focus on the pitfalls or the problems that may hit the next generation.
Right.
What's worse is you focus on how can I compromise this and still walk it through.
Oof.
So we don't take what Christ says to the full length of it. Christ says, look, if your eye causes you to sin, pluck it out.
That's
And we go,
crazy.
yeah, that's really metaphorical. Anyways, we don't give enough significance to what Christ says. Why? Because we're self-focused. We're not loving the Lord enough. We're not loving our family or our neighbors enough to say, no, this is dangerous. This is very dangerous.
Yeah, why did he say his hand or his eye, pluck it off or cut it off? Why? that the value of your eye or your hand is not worth the price of your soul. It's not worth it.
Right.
So
And
people are like, "But are you going to pluck your eye out?" No, he's showing you value
you should care that much
about salvation.
about salvation and about consecration, righteousness, that you would rather cut your hand off than continue in sin. And this whole concept of, hey, how do we build a selfless culture? Because people are like, oh, that's overwhelming. We can't do that.
yeah. How do we build that?
But how do we build it? Because we've got to have something to grab onto. Because he and I can sit here and tell you we're a selfish generation. We don't think about posterity. And look at Congress. Look how much they're saddling our children with, and they're kicking the can down the road.
Which most podcasters do.
Right? You've heard that ad nauseum. I do ask you, how many times have you actually heard? Okay, what's the roadmap in your own life to start?
Yeah,
to
how
push
do
against
I
that?
start to do it? And I think
Right.
one of the first steps is don't tolerate it. Don't tolerate evil. And I'll tell you, Samuel Adams said a quote. I have these quotes that I have about posterity a lot, and so I've memorized a lot of them. But he said something that I think shows his heart. Sounds very harsh, but gained our independence because of this mindset. He said, "If you love wealth rather than liberty, and if you prefer tranquility over the animated contest of freedom, go from us in peace." He said, "We ask not your counsels or your arms." He said, "Crouch down and lick the hands which feed you. May your chains sit lightly upon you, and may our posterity forget that you are our countrymen." That's insane.
Yeah.
What he's saying here is, go away, sit in your own muck and mire. We're going to go out there and defend liberty. You have to be able to say that over your children. If the world wants to do what it wants to do, go over there. You sit in that. As for me and my house, this is what we're doing.
And that is the challenge. That's that first step.
By the way, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. That's not just a plaque you put on the front of your house, boys
Right.
and girls. That is a lifestyle we live.
That's a oath.
It
Really,
is.
It's an oath. We are going to do this.
Right.
And I think that first step is putting your foot down and saying, it's not about me anymore.
Bingo.
And I think we do plenty of lip service to that slogan, but we've really got to get it in our heart of, it is not about me anymore.
Never was.
It never was about me. It's about my children and my children's children. There's that old Greek proverb, right? And I put it somewhere in here. Basically, a society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they know they shall never sit in. That's that selflessness. And I want you to take a moment and really think about, what are you putting together for your future posterity
Dang.
that you will never enjoy?
That's solid, dude.
Because it's so easy for us to
solid.
go, oh, no, I want to build legacy for my family, for my kids. No, you want to build legacy for yourself and enjoy it, and hey, your kids get to benefit from it. Could you build legacy that you'll never touch? Could you build legacy that you'll never enjoy the fruit of?
Dang, bro. Preach.
That's when you get selfless. That's when you realize, okay, I'm sacrificing now. I'm sacrificing my own comfort, my own finances, my own drive. I'm sacrificing my own desires and dreams because I want to provide a better environment for my family and their families.
I think you just said it. This proverb, I'm kind of launched in my head about it right now.
Go for it.
A society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they know they shall never sit in. That, look, read Hebrews 11. Through faith, they did all these things, right? But then at the end of it, they say, but still a better promise was to come that they didn't even yet experience.
Yes.
They
exactly.
lived by faith without even having the promise of Jesus in their lives, knowing that it was coming. So they did all that work of faith for you, so that we could have a remembrance book called the Scriptures we could read and enjoy and learn about, look at their faith and say, Lord, if they could do that without the promise of Christ, what can we do in the promise of Christ? Like, if they could walk in authority and power and do all that God commanded them to do, whether it was Gideon, Barak, Samson, Abraham, Jephthah, David, Samuel, all these cats, if all these guys, Ruth, Deborah, just for you ladies, so you don't think I'm forgetting the women, We'll talk about that in a podcast some other time. There's nothing to do with genders. It's everything to do with calling. So with this, we have this Bible, but then you look at the founders. They didn't, most of them, get to partake in the liberty that they fought and died for and bled for.
Right? It was we pledge our sacred honor.
With the blessing of divine providence, we mutually pledge our lives and our fortunes and our sacred honor.
There it is,
Yeah.
right? We always kind of gloss over that.
You're right.
Think about what they're signing. Death warrant. And they even joked about it with each other for a moment. And they're like, man, you're a lot bigger than I am, so you're going to die faster when we hang.
Oh, jeez. But it's true.
That's a summary of a joke that was said when they were signing the Declaration of Independence. And they all laughed for a second, and then it got really somber. Because they all, yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
we could all hang for
and you
this.
think Hancock was like, I'm going to put my signature the biggest so they can see it. That's courage, folks.
Man, he stepped forward.
You had to hear, and I don't care what you say. I know a lot of people are going to find this blasphemous. I don't care. They had more courage than most of you sitting here watching this. And if you're going to nitpick, this is what I'm talking about. They had more courage in their pinky finger than you sitting behind your keyboard, okay? When he said that, I believe he was inspired by the Lord.
I think so.
He knew, just like Jesus knew his death was coming, Peter knew his death was coming, Paul knew his death was coming. It's like they knew, okay, we're going to stand for this because we feel inspired by God to stand against tyranny, which is biblical.
And when you lay down your life for what God's called you to, then you can walk. You can walk in freedom.
Dude.
You can do what you need to do. And you notice they are our founders, and this is why I get so personally frustrated when people are like, they're just slave owners and they're doing it for themselves and just big rich white men and colonists and blah, blah. I want to see you sign a paper starting a war with the biggest military on earth, knowing that more than likely you will be caught and killed. How many of you are actually going to step up and do that? Not many of us. There had to be something more that was driving them in this process to where they were willing to put their name on a death warrant.
That's exactly it. They knew what they were signing up for,
They
dude.
knew. Why? And we've got quotes and quotes of them talking about, it's not for me, it's for my children.
That's right. Letters, dude. John Adams said this day, July 2nd, 1776, will be the most memorable epoch in the history of America. He said, I'm apt to believe it will be celebrated by succeeding generations as a great anniversary festival, but it ought to be commemorated as the day of reverence and devotion of solemn acts to God Almighty. He said it will be celebrated by succeeding generations. They knew what they were doing. They're putting this thing on the line. This is why John Dickinson had such a hard time signing it. That's why he abstained, because he's like, I know what kind of thing we're walking into. Can I put my state through this?
Is there another thing we can do so we don't have to go?
So we don't have
this
to go
route?
there. Now,
Yeah.
he fought in the war.
Yes, he
was
did.
a man. That
Once
dude was
it-
a man.
That's what's crazy to
I
me
love
is
that.
like he tried everything he could of reconciliation. Let's fix this. Let's not do
He
this.
didn't
Hold on.
compromise.
Now is not the time. But once that got signed,
He's like, all right, we're
I'm
in.
in. Here we go.
Yep. And it's crazy because he didn't put his line. Oh gosh, this is so Jesus. He didn't put his name on the line for other people's lives like Congress does.
Right.
But when the time came calling, he put his own name on the line against himself for the future.
Amen.
In other words, I'm not going to go make you fight. I'll
I'll do
fight
it.
first. Man, dude, that's powerful,
Could
man.
you imagine how few wars we would have if Congress had to be on the front lines of it?
Oh,
Will you see any of them pass that law? No. I think,
I just want to read this from Washington.
yeah, go for it.
He said it should be the highest ambition of every American to extend his views beyond himself and to bear in mind that his conduct will not only affect himself, his country, and his immediate posterity, but that its influence may be coextensive with the world and stamp political happiness or misery on ages yet unborn. Dude, what we do, what is it? Gladiator. What we do in this life echoes in eternity. He's exactly right. You may think that sounds weird, but it's not. What we do now echoes in the future. Our kids will tell our stories. Our kids will talk about us one day to their kids. And what are they going to find in us? What are they going to find in us? Are they going to find a selfish dude who didn't want to get off his butt? Who didn't want to do anything,
Right.
who wasn't willing to go change anything, who was willing to compromise and sit on his butt and do nothing? Or are they going to find a guy and his wife, right, that they can emulate? Man, I want to marry someone who's got the virtues of my mother. Or if you have a daughter, I want to marry a man that has the virtues of my father.
Right.
Is that what they're saying about you?
And that, dude, that rings through my head a lot of how will my kids look at me after I'm gone?
Oh, gosh.
Will they say, well, Dad lived the routine life. He did the 9 to 5 and, came home, spent some time with us. He was good. It was no problem. Or, man, Dad went all out on life, right? And not for himself. And that's, if you think about this whole concept of legacy, this again goes to the economy of God, right?
Dude.
It upside down because people think, okay, if I'm going to build my legacy, I've got to focus on self. I have to sacrifice everything else, zeroed in, then I'll build my legacy.
Right.
Yeah, your name may carry for a couple of generations. Maybe, sure.
Sure.
But your legacy in God's eyes is when you empty yourself and you serve him.
Right.
And I go back to this in so many different topics when Christ says the 2 greatest commandments. Love the Lord your God, and I just say with all you are, right? Body, soul, mind, spirit.
This is that what should
Right.
we do part. What
Right.
should we do? We said no tolerance to stuff shouldn't
Yeah.
be. There's some of you have different consciences. We're talking about what your
What's your
conscience
purpose?
what your conscience tolerates, right?
Right.
Before the Lord under scripture.
And to pursue your purpose, it's love the Lord your God and love your neighbor as yourself, right?
Hardest commandments to do.
Put those
Hardest
two up,
ones to do.
right?
Without Jesus.
Empty yourself, follow Christ, and he will put together your legacy. I was saying this to the guys on Wednesday night. It's like, the funny thing is, if you would just submit to the Lord and pursue the purpose that he's given you, obey him, follow in righteousness, he'll put together your legacy.
Bingo.
And it may not be global for generations name across billboards. And I use this example. I'm like, but when you stand before him, maybe your legacy is you grew up in a country like Cambodia, and every village you went to, you shared the gospel, but you got thrown in jail and tortured for 20 years, 30 years, and then you died a martyr's death.
Right.
Nobody will know your name. But when you stand before Christ, the legacy, the book of life, man, you've built legacy. And guess what?
100%.
Your family and your neighbors and those who you converted, they'll know your name.
Exactly.
We look at Mother Teresa, right? Mother Teresa is a global name. Man, how did she build such a legacy?
I know, dude. This little humble woman who
She gave up all the trappings of the world and she just did what God called her to do.
bingo. No, and it's so crazy that people are still trying to find crap on her. Like they're just, dude, literally, people have been taught to nitpick.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, we could probably find flaws with some things she did with any man or woman.
Right.
But dude, I'm looking at the virtue. Robert E. Lee said this. Watch this. I think it better to do right, even if we suffer in so doing, than to incur the reproach of our consciences and our own posterity. I think it better if we do just right, no matter what it costs us, than to have our future say cowards.
Right.
Or they said they believed, but they didn't believe. They didn't have the testimony to back it up.
Right.
They say that they were selfless, but yet really, what did they live for?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I've got various verses in here. And one thing I want to read, and then I've got a point to this, is, where'd it go? You shall, Exodus 25-6, you shall not worship them or serve them, talking about other gods, idols, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children, on the 3rd and 4th generations of those who hate me. Now, sin can carry down. Now, a person's child does not get punished for the sin of the father, and a father does not get punished for the sin of the child, but your legacy gets passed on. So to the third and fourth generation, your legacy of sin and curse could get passed on, right? But showing loving kindness to thousands, to those who love me and keep my commandments.
Right.
How much righteousness echoes through time and it carries through in the future.
100%.
So we've got something here. When you put your effort or your energy into your faith, is it for you or is it for the Lord and for your posterity?
Yeah. Dude,
Right?
here's another one. Dude, this is so crazy. I look up these quotes and I'm like, I got to do a whole 3 slideshows on these things.
Yeah.
Samuel Adams said this again. He said, shame on men who can court exemption from present trouble and expense in the price of their own posterity's liberty. Oh, jeepers.
Dude, like,
Gosh.
do you not get
Shame
it?
on you.
Do you not
Shame
get
on
it,
you.
man? And that's where like liberty is such a valuable possession. And let's look at our own lives and say, what are you actually putting your money towards?
100%.
Are you putting your money and he said I can name him. So I was talking to Jonathan about all this, and he said his dad, his father was very focused on building a legacy for his children. So much so that he saved up, he did what he needed to do to buy a big, nice, beautiful property. And he told Jonathan and his brother, just can't sell it. It's got to stay in the family. This is for your kids, right? That's that legacy mindset of what is your wealth going towards? What is your righteousness going towards? What is your self-development going towards? We have a whole men's I'm in the middle of it. We have a whole men's self-development culture, but I think the missing piece is it's about you. And we don't talk about that. Well, this is for my family. I'm developing myself for my family. Are you, though? Or are you developing yourself to feel better about yourself? Developing yourself to get a bigger business? Developing yourself to be a little more closer to God? Because, hey, that way your faith number gets bumped up. Instead, we should be emptying ourselves and pursuing what we need to for our children's children, for the ones that you may never see. That's when you're doing real development.
That's good.
That's when you're actually investing. That's where you're putting money into something. Perfect analogy. And we'll wrap this up. I love Canary Island date palms. I've got one in my backyard. They're a beautiful tree. And I know it's weird, certain type of palm tree. It's a beautiful tree, especially when it's manicured, right? They're very valuable. And the reason is they take a very long time to grow, 20, 30, 40 years. I'm planting them knowing I probably won't ever see this thing totally come to fruition. But at the same time, it's valuable for my kids, right? That's an investment. I'm not saying, so there, I've got it. But like, that's a small analogy of what
it's
are
a
you
metaphor.
doing, right? What are you investing into? What are you planting? What are you putting forward that you'll never sit under the shade of that tree?
Truth.
You know? And when we get this in our heart, that it's for the Lord and it's for our neighbors, which includes our family, you suddenly leave such a bigger legacy.
That's
Jonathan's dad leaves one heck of a legacy when he dies because everybody turns around and goes, man, that man built a lot for everybody else. And dude, the fruit you get to enjoy in doing so is conviction and clear conscience.
100%.
Which are beautiful things. And we set those aside because we go, well, but I want to enjoy now. And that's that whole delayed gratification. The Lord is nailing me with this thing because I talk a lot about legacy, and this whole generational legacy thing is so different. It's not our culture. It's not Western civilization right now. And if you want to turn it around, it starts with you. And we talked about, okay, what should we do? It really starts with you, and it starts with your faith in the Lord. Why are you doing what you're doing for the Lord? Are you truly selfless in what you're doing for Him? Are you truly selfless in what you're doing for your family? What are you putting forward, and what risks are you taking for your family, for your Lord, right? And when you start to do that, you live a different life, and then you can teach others how to live that different life.
Right.
So, go ahead
And there's a
round it
lot
out.
to it, man. Like, so we'll end it this way. First thing is love the Lord your God. Second, impart these testimonies to your kids. What God has done in your family, what's God done in our past with our immediate family and other parts and lineages, right? There's still so many stories I haven't even told my kids about their great-grandfathers and all that stuff. And Carrie's side too, I'm sure. But there's all these testimonies that have to happen. But don't tolerate what you know is not right, because what you tolerate, kids will embrace. And I'm noticing that more in our lives. Like what we've allowed them to do because we tolerated it, they've embraced it. And we got to break that now. And it's, listen, if there are things going on, can we just speak to this?
Yeah.
There are things going on in your children that you tolerated. Christ is faithful. The Holy Spirit is faithful to turn that course and break that. It's just going to take time. It's going to take Holy Spirit's direction in your life to talk to them a certain way, not get angry with them because you don't tolerate it, but hey, we allowed this. We got to show grace too. Like we got to teach them.
That's convicting, right?
It is very hard.
I allowed this, so how can I then come down so
Right.
hard on it? I allowed it to develop into a behavior or a habit.
Yeah, telling the boys, they know this. If they're honest with me, I won't get upset. So one of my sons told me something. He broke something. Dad, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. And I'm like, I'm not mad at you, but how do we change this now?
Right.
Because they've learned that that's how I taught them or whatever. They broke something or they did something or they sinned a certain way. It's like, man, I probably allowed that in some way. Now, some of it's their choices. I'm not saying everything. But now I have this cool opportunity to show them this is the way to go. This is how we do this. This is how we treat people. This is what we, you know what I mean? So things can change and the Holy Spirit can change it for you. Like, and you just have to do and seek him on how to do that. And he'll change it because each kid is different. There's no cookie cutter way to do it. And you always want to make sure you said it just now, and pursue what makes us better. It is hard to eat the way we're eating right now. It is hard. I gotta drop weight, man. Like, and it with the passing of, brother, it really kind of, it didn't spark me. It just kind of like, man, life is free. I was only 10 years older than me. And it's like, dang, you know what I mean? We got to make changes, bro. Like, and it's hard. It's hard to do because it's just one meal. Why can't I just have that one thing? One thing turns into another. And you know your body, you know your lust, you know your flesh. Just discipline yourself. So we're all working on that. You know what I mean? It's like funny how I have spirit and soul that God is working on, but my body.
Right.
It's like, come on, that's out of balance.
And it's crazy to me because everywhere I go, I'm hearing guys who are like, man, the Lord's really laying on me. I gotta get fit. I gotta get active. I gotta get healthy again. It's like the Lord's doing something. It's not just a coincidence.
Yeah.
Like he's pushing guys to get healthy again.
And
for
why?
a reason.
Why would he do that?
Dude, that's what concerns me. It's like, why would you do that, Lord? What's going on here? But I think very much.
I think it's in man though to do that. I think it's cyclical, generational thing too.
And I think the times that we're headed into, we've got to be physically prepared. And I also believe that I think people think the spiritual can overcome anything you do to the body, but I'm telling you, if you're downing Mountain Dew all day and you're downing Doritos and you're sitting on the couch eating hot dogs, playing video games, how spiritually deep are you truly? Because that stuff messes with your hormones, which messes with your mind, right? And people go, depression, that's just always demonic. Or it's your diet. There's true...
Dude, there's schools in Wisconsin that change their diets in the schools that change the kids.
Dude.
Removing energy drinks and crap.
Yeah. And to your point, I just read an article talking about in Norway, they did a study. They banned cell phones from schools. Dude, kids totally different. Like 60%, the visits to like psychiatrists and all that went down 60%.
Gosh.
You ain't telling me there's not an effect on them, right? And I think this is what the Lord is doing, is going, look, you guys have been living this way for a long time. This stuff is affecting you more than you know.
Right. And he's got a really good grip on the whole cell phone thing. Still working on it for me because I'm always on the phone doing something. Always. I'm always doing something, calls or texts or something, and journaling on my phone now.
And I know people get upset. Why doesn't he respond? Because I'm staying away from it. So,
that is
love
true.
you.
I don't like that about him. I call him, and he'll call me back like literally 30 seconds later. But that proves his phone's not on him.
Yep.
He stays true to his word, guys. So I'll give him that. Guys, we love you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, go to theselfevidenttruth.com. Check out the merch. Be a part of our team. Please sponsor a podcast if you want, or just donate, support us, be a torchbearer, be a monthly sponsor because that keeps us heavily going.
Speaking of sponsors of the podcast, And
Shout him out,
dude,
man. Shout him out.
Michael, we failed last podcast. Energy Ops LLC, I argue the best electrical electrician company in the world.
He killed it at my house.
Dude. Oh.
Just did so good. Did all the. I have to rewire it. My house is like in the 70s. I have to do the whole thing.
And it was
Which-
Uncle Joe trying to.
Dude, he said there's so much crap wrong. I was like, what would it cost to redo the whole thing? How much money do I got to put away for that? And it's just, he already had the answers. He's
Yep.
like, hey, I could do it. I got to do all these other things. So it was really neat. But dude, he's just such a great guy
killed it,
too. His family's great. Good family, man.
Amazing people.
EnergyOps.
U.S.
That's what I said. I was going to say .com. I just know that's wrong. EnergyOps.us. Guys,
All
we
right,
love
go
you.
visit them. Love y'all.
Bye.